Hello everybody, this is Comic Sans, our video podcast we do, Mikael and I, and we are very happy that Guy Delisle is our guest today. Hello Guy.
Hello.
Hi Guy.
Hi.
I guess we had a lot to talk, don't know what will happen. Maybe we frame it a little bit by the situation. You're coming now from Munich.
Yeah, that's part of a tour that I'm doing in Germany, and I was at the Munich Festival, and Frankfurt is my last stop before going back home.
And you like that part of your job, this touring, or is it something that must be done? You can be honest.
Yeah, no, I can understand that people travel. At one point, when it was the time of the Jerusalem book, I was traveling a lot, and the children were smaller, so that was a bit complicated to go away. And I did too much traveling, and I was not enjoying it anymore. And I thought, well, if you go in some new place and you don't appreciate that, it's too bad to do it. So for some reason, I my book changed. Like I didn't tour for the Bad Father Guide and this one either, because that was during COVID. So it was a long time that I didn't travel.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's new.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm with that new book that I'm traveling.
So
and I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
The tour to present a new book.
I'm doing the tour. Yeah, I forgot to say that. For that new book actually. So no, it's nice to have a new book and to travel.
Maybe we should start with the new book then, right?
Yeah. And I guess the presentations and the shows are quite different from country to country. Is that right? You do it.
Just before that tour in Germany, I did a tour because the book is out in English in Canada, USA. And yeah, the title in English is much shorter. They've changed it to Muybridge. So the name of the person I'm doing the biography in that book.
And the live sessions, you just have a Q&A and do a signing, or is there also reading, or are there scientific theses?
No, thank God. No, it's the same as here in Germany. It's a presentation, so I have slides that I and slides and microphone, and I talk to the audience. And after that, if they have questions and if they want to have a book signed, it's around an hour of presentation. And I like it actually, because in France we don't do that. We don't do presentation like that. We just
do signing, or
yeah, we are just like machine to sign books. Yeah, that's how we are, which is too bad because I enjoy it because it's a different relation you have with the audience, because they come to listen to what you have to say about this book and for this time. So I enjoy doing it.
So in a way, you did the same. You do the same as Muybridge did. He also goes on tour.
Who?
Muybridge, or
yeah. At the end of his life, he became. He started as a photographer. He became a landscape photographer, quite well known, and he had a crazy life. But it's true. In one part of his life, he was demonstrating his new machine, who was a projector, because he had taken a sequence of animals and of humans in motion, and he was able to project that. So he was going around having a famous time. He was quite well known, and England, France, and all over, showing his stuff. So it was very popular back in the days. Yeah. Apparently he was quite a showman, even though he was most of the time a quiet guy. When he was on stage, apparently he was making the show.
How did you come across Edward Muybridge? How did he?
Yeah, he's not very well known, but for the people who worked in animation, like me, like I studied animation when I was 18, we all know Muybridge because we all have a reference book who's called Human in Motion and Animal in Motion, and that was done by him in 1874, 1880. And it's still today a reference because he have made all sorts of sequence of human jumping, going around. You probably have worked with that book too before, right?
Yeah, it lies always because we also work in a studio with animators, and it's always somewhere around on one table is this book.
And that book has been printed, more than it's around 150 years ago, so that's a long time, and it's still being sold by the same company. So I knew about his work, so I thought he's kind of a scientific with photo, and he did that work during the Victorian era, and it's a bit strange because they're all naked, so you think, oh, they're all naked. Well, anyhow, so that's part of the mystery, and then I learned about his life, and then I realized, oh wow, that's much more incredible than I thought, because he had before that a life of photographer, landscape, and he became quite famous with that. He met Leland Stanford of Stanford University, and then they worked 10 years together to achieve...
It's a story of its own, this guy, Leland Stanford.
Yeah, you can do a book just on Stanford. Yeah. It was done, actually. There was a comic book that I read that was after mine, just on Stanford, and the relation they had was meets the opposite. I talk about Muybridge, and Stanford is in a part.
But Mikael and you're both comic artists. I'm not a comic artist. I want to ask, why is it so striking for you, these sequences? Is it because of the sequences, of the sequential stuff, or is it because of the anatomy and the correct movements? Why are you so struck
because
with this?
When you have the book and you see mostly the equilibrium, l'équilibre. So you see when someone is walking, the first thing he does, like he gets into balance forward, and then his foot goes away. So he's always in balance like that. And when he stops, he comes back. So you get to see that in all sorts of movements, and you see the weight, because you have these guys doing supérieur, like backflip. So you have to regroup so that you turn faster. So you get to see that in a fraction of a second. It's great, because if you have to draw it, well, then you have to analyze the movement in sequence like that. And then if you animate that, you have to caricature a bit, so it shows more weight and more timing. So it's a very good tool for animators.
And also for comic artists, because a lot of us comic artists come from a point where we cannot really draw, or we feel very insecure about drawing, and then you're always wondering, how does that look? And then it's these basic movements which you really like, that's how it works, like that's how you can draw it. Yeah,
if you have to draw a dog that's running, or you can go to see in the index dogs, and then you have the lévrier, the race dogs, and you get to see all the sequence of the movement when it goes like that, and so you choose one and you just redraw it, and it's going to look great.
To the point that everybody chooses the same sequence, and then you see, like, you can, I think you could guess in animation comics where someone took his... Yeah. I think you could point out where he's used.
Yeah, I was looking at the horse, and I was looking at one of Hergé drawing, and you know that it's taken from Muybridge, because that's the only reference basically that we all have. You have the horse in three-quarter, profile, and front, and you have all the sequence, and you see, he has taken, and then you check, and it's exactly the same drawing. So you have Tintin and Tim, and he's on the horse, and it's exactly the horse that Muybridge picture I've taken.
And it's
because when you look at the book, there are at least 3 very important moments in the book where you reproduce that again, and the end of the book, then the killing of was this the Liebhaber, the lover of his wife?
Yeah, the murder.
In another scene, and so this is always also a reference to that. But what I'm interested in is the question. It seems to me that Muybridge was unsatisfied with just having the photos and longing for the perfect movement. But that's not the matter when it comes to comics, because you're quite happy the way you are. Isn't that true? Or is it also that you, in fact, still an animator?
Yeah, coming from the animation, you know that you can have a sequence of drawing, just like a sequence of photo of Muybridge, and when you put them together, that looks actually quite good. And you can do a short sequence of animation. Chris Ware is doing that a lot in his comics, and it works perfectly. He has them in many ways, vertically, horizontally, and you get to see the movement, and it's like a little film inside the comics. And you can have flip books as well. You can do all sorts of things. But yeah, to me, to have a sequence of movement, it was important to put that in the book because that's what he has done. He was the first guy to freeze the time, and you get to see the horse. But then he worked on so many animals after that he has freeze the time. So that's it could have been the title of the book. And after that he worked on it. He worked so long on that it's his masterpiece of work. That's what we know him for. But yeah, I was surprised when I started to read biography that on top of that he's a murderer, and yeah, and when you do storytelling you think, oh wow, that's interesting. It's so I was hesitating between other people and said, this one should be fun to do. And I was portraying that scene where actually, killing someone, I guess it's important. Important. It's a crazy moment in your life. Boom! He shot the guy. So I said, well, I have to do that in slow motion to show that moment where things go.
And you also hint to the technical aspect of the revolver, and I find that very interesting.
That's a bit by luck because I was looking for the gun because we know what gun it is because there's a trial and you have all the details. So I said, oh, it's a Colt. So I checked for that Colt. And on the wiki page that explained, it was the Colt from the Civil War, basically, the most famous one. And it doesn't open like that, it opens like that.
Oh.
That's why somebody was looking at the drawing saying, and did you? I said, no, look, in the reference. And on the reference, you have on the page, you have all the mechanic inside. And, I really enjoy mechanics and stuff like that. So I thought, oh, that's interesting to see the percussion of the...
So when you did the book, there was a revolver laying on your table, like the handcuffs by hostage?
No, because they are... Yeah, I had someone from the studio, because I work in a studio with other people.
And of course they have guns.
One guy had one guy is older than me, and he has a very classical, and he did westerns at one point in his life, comic book westerns, and he had a gun, but it's not just a gun. It was a gun from the Civil War, so it worked perfectly. It's a maquette. You cannot shoot anything with that, and but it's made of metal. It's very heavy, and I've used that once in a while. Well, I draw the gun only 1 or 2 times. It's not really present in the book.
But it's also your first full biography where you tell the whole life of someone, right?
Yeah, because I was on Geisel. I did talk for the first time of someone else, and I really enjoyed that. And it was quite a challenge for me. Wow, it's something to learn. That, you have to put words in the mouth of someone, and how do you do that? Because you don't know exactly what he was thinking, exactly what he was saying. So you have to invent that. But since Christophe André, so the guy that I'm depicting in Geisel, who's been kidnapped, and that's the story of the book, I know him. So I said, well, okay, I'm going to do the text, what he's saying, and I'm going to send him the page, because I feel a bit insecure on that part of the book. And he changed a few things, but after a while, everything I was sending was like, oh, good. Maybe I just put myself in the character. Well, we look alike. He became a friend, Christophe, so yeah, we are the same kind of pace, guys, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just for the audience, it's a thick book, and it's very impressive. I was very impressed when I read it the first time, because it's really...
it's in one room.
It's basically in one room. There's some entry and there's some exit, and I didn't think it would be possible in the medium of comics. I always think that books need more, like it has to move, like place has to move, time has to move. And here we're basically it's like a theater piece with a very reduced scene, like there's some elements and they stay the same. And nonetheless, while reading it, there's not one second where you're bored or you're like it's the opposite. You're gripped by it because you're really with him in that room. It gets so intense. I think it's one of the most intense comic books where really you feel
I agree.
You feel trapped basically with him.
But that's how I was. That was my. I had a few reference of films where not much happens, but they try to escape, like an old French film, and you're on the edge of your seat.
Which?
It's called Le Trou by Mark Baker, and they're actually reenacting prisoners in the 30s, I think, that escape, and then there's a new guy coming, and so they don't know if they should include him in the thing.
In the plan,
yeah. Is he part of the? And so and you see all the little details, and you are just on the edge of your seat. And it's a book too, so it's not like a movie. So you turn the page, and I wanted the reader to. Kind of be trapped in the story, like even though you turn the page quickly, I mean it's a thick book, so it's like a manga basically. You cannot escape even though you want, so you can turn the page. So I wanted to have that feeling of being trapped by the thickness of the book somehow.
There's no way out while reading it. Like, I think I started even in a bookshop, and I think I finished it in the bookshop. I closed the bookshop afterwards because it was late. What I always wondered with that book when I read it, I was like, because with me, it's 428 pages, and with me, the thing that keeps me going when I draw a comic is like, that I go to these different places. And it's a joy, like to go there, and then you go there, and then this scene comes, and you're already you're already excited, like, no, this part will come. And when I read this, I was like, how's your relationship to boredom and to frustration? Because 420 pages of that book
good question.
That's witness of someone who has, I think, an expanded sense of, or expanded control over his frustration and boredom.
Yeah, probably because I was in front of Christophe and he was telling me that story, and I thought, well, this is the most exciting story I've ever heard, because he escaped. So and then how he was always on trying to see if there's not a detail he forgot, and then he could escape. So there's always a tension. And I was listening to the Truffaut-Hitchcock interview, and Hitchcock explains that if there's a prisoner and he wants to escape, there's always a tension. So that's what he's trying to do. So you really go for him. You think, well, I hope he's gonna survive and be able to go. So I know it would work, but I have to say that after 300 pages, I had hesitation. I thought maybe that's just gonna be a boring book. And then I passed it around to friends, so they could read it, and their reaction was like, "Well, no, where's the rest?" Because what's this? Because I think I gave them just before he opens the door or something like that. So they were going like, "Okay," I said, "No, it's not done yet." Okay, well, just keep them coming, and so I thought, okay, that's working. I was, but you need that because 300 pages is too much to grasp or to contain in your brain somehow. And I had a little hesitation, but after like I was saying as well, it's a book. If you would make a movie like that, because they're planning to making a movie with that, that's like 10 years. I don't know how these people are working. They bought the rights. I don't know what they're doing. So anyhow, but I told them I think it's a good idea, because as a book, I think it works because. But in a movie, if you want to show that it's long, it's a routine, and it's going to be just boring. But a book is different because you can read very quickly because you go like, and you can stop, you put it there. But a movie, you're there like for 2 hours and the guy just it can be really, so I don't really believe in the project of a film. I have big doubts, but that depends.
You would have to use, I think, for the movie, very different techniques as in the comic, because this really works like a charm in a specific medium. It's like,
it works for, I think, because it's the details, but then but for a movie, they would have to think in a different way.
For example, this war history, he's a war historian, and that saved his life. No, not saved his life, but it was very important for him to. And it was helpful.
And that's how he escaped first in his head. That's how they survived. Most of the kidnapped people, they always have things to imagine in their head, and they all have similar path of working in their head, so to cope with reality, like remembering the day, like Christophe was trying to not be mixed up with the dates.
Yeah.
And he says, so,
This
you have to repeat like 5 or 6 times that the 17, and then say tomorrow will be, so you have to keep or focus on the 70. And so when he was taking as a picture with his cell people who kidnapped him, there was a newspaper to prove that it was that date. So he looked at the date and said, yeah, it was good. That was a very good achievement for him, knowing that he has kept the time good. Remember he was saying that. So all these details are incredible. So if you put them like that, it works in a comic book. Yeah.
Let's get back to the new book with one question I'm very interested in, because you out yourself as a animator, and you still, I guess, you're not working as an animator anymore, but Pyongyang was about it, and there's, I guess, still a strong love to that genre or to that technique. And then here you also bring in a very interesting way, photos. Is there? No, it's a common question, but I'm really interested in: what are the strengths of all these different, not genres, but kind of art? And because you do it in a very natural way, that you talk about the photos and then you show the photos, and I guess, Mikael, you never did that before, to bring in such a realistic, not realistic, but another piece of art. I'm interested what you think about that technique. With the photos, for both of you.
Oh, for me, I didn't plan to put the photos right before I started the book, but as I was doing my research, I saw all these photos, and you can use them, like the first photo from Nips or Daguerre, they're out there, and I thought it would be stupid to, what do? I put like a reference, and then you would have to read the book with your iPad. That doesn't make sense. I thought, should I redraw them? And then I said, well, they're out there. Anybody can use them. So I'm going to put them, but apart on a separate page. So this is the photo, and this is my comic book. So they're there. So they are, it's a good rhythm for the book. So when you want to slow down, you put pictures. And for explanation, it's perfect, because you can get these old pictures of horse, the way they were depicting the horse before the famous photos by Muybridge. So it's a very good tool, and if for me it works, and it's more efficient, because for me comic books it's a lot of you can put a lot of information, and photo is one of them, because it's a very good information.
Yeah. No, it works brilliantly in this book. Because you see all the references, how the artists try to cope with the problem of the horse, and then you see the result, and of course that makes sense why they needed this picture. Yeah,
I was watching the book by Emmanuel Guibert, of course, the photograph, and but the drawings of Emmanuel are so clean and photographic-like that he managed to mix both, almost in the same page, if I remember. Yeah. But the photos are beautiful, the drawings are beautiful, and we're not all drawing like Emmanuel Guibert. So I found a way that I would include them within the book, but in a different way.
I think it's the right strategy to keep them kind of pages apart. Then the reader's never confused.
That's right. Yeah.
They don't crash into.
Yeah, I've done that too in Jerusalem with the sketchbooks, because I was doing a lot of sketchbooks when I was in Jerusalem, and I said, oh, it'd be nice to include them. I tried to put them among other frame, like in a page of a comic book, all of a sudden, and I didn't like that because it's different. So I said, well, I'm just going to put them in front of a chapter. You have a little sketch, and so it shows that it's a different story. Or it's a different story. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
And what about animation? What is the difference to
that's why I chose Muybridge, because he's part of the family for me. I've learned animation when I was 18, it's fascinating work. I mean, you have to stop the movement, and I still really enjoy whenever I watch a lot of animation films. But whenever there's like sport magazine photos, like and you get to see a slow motion or just a photo of a guy in the air, and you see what does it make that we know that it's in full motion because it's stopped in front of you, but you see that he's jumping because of the wind, this, and that fascinates me. I really enjoy that. So yeah, I guess I chose Muybridge because his life was crazy, but he's part of something that I know, which is the movement decomposing, and he's a forgotten pioneer. Like a lot of pioneers of cinema and photo, they've been completely forgotten, and I thought it would be interesting to. If people get to know a bit more about this guy.
Yeah. Because it's also very interesting in a how should I say, in a theoretical way, at least, but also it's interesting what you say about what is his name, Meissonier.
Yeah.
And about the fear of the painting artists when it comes to photography. They say, oh no, now it's done, we lost.
That's right.
And then there is this interesting quote from Rodin.
That's
right. They pretend they stop time, but you cannot stop time, so it's not true.
Yeah, he was saying both at the same time. It is true, but in reality, time doesn't stop. So somehow it's not true. So he was right on the spot here to say that. As a sculpture, of course, because sculpture, there's a movement, but it's freeze in time, so he knows what he's talking about, of course, yeah. And it was a crazy time for painters because Meissonier was trying to understand how the horse is running, and when he saw this picture, he like, wow, I have to change my paintings. Because at the time, the paintings, they were trying to be as realistic as they can. The more realistic, the better it was.
But they didn't get the horse. It's really interesting what you show as examples. The best horse painter, no, that's...
and then the evolution of painting after that, because they had the competition right in front of them, was the photo. People want to have a portrait, but not paintings. They want to have a photo. So that changed a lot of things for painters. They said, wow, now the competition is photo. And that changed a lot because all of a sudden the people getting more and more realistic, and then the Impressionists arrived and people said, oh, that's nice as well. So I wanted to show that as well, the impact of photo on paintings.
Yeah, because I think this question, when it comes to the difference between photography and making comics, is also a question which you can apply on your other famous books, the Jerusalem, Pyongyang, Shenzhen, which are in a way, they're not really journalistic, but they're reportages about your life in a certain city. And but you choose as a free man to do it not with photos or with film, and to create a new genre, I will say. It's not really graphic journalism, but it's close to that. Maybe you can tell us something about that time when you start doing these kind of really...
It was not planned to be a book because I went to China and I was taking notes while I was traveling, and when I came back, some of the notes I thought, there would be some funny stories too. And it was quite popular in Lapin at one point. They did a special when everybody was talking about the catacomb in Paris, the experience they had when they were teenagers, and I've never been in the catacomb, so I could not participate to that, but I thought I would like to do autobiography because I've always been fascinated by the few examples by Gottlieb or a few people that were using that.
Because there's not a lot, it's a niche, before you started it.
Yeah, I guess so, but it was like people, Menu was traveling and doing the comic too, and that was very interesting. I thought, I'd like to try that for a short story, and it was a short story. And that became Shenzhen after a while because people really enjoyed it, and I thought, maybe I'm going to start pre-publishing it in that magazine and do a book. So that became a book, and after that I was sent to Pyongyang and said, I'm going to take notes as well. So the way I work is I take notes, and after that, this is funny, strange, And it all works because of the narration. I mean, I could go in North Korea, there's crazy things, so you have good material. But then when I'm in Jerusalem, I talk about everyday life, historical stuff, so it has to fit together somehow. But it's chronicle, so you change from one short story to another short story. And the way I can describe these books, it's a postcard. It's a postcard, very long, that I would send to my family, and to show them, like, well, I've been there and I saw these people and I had experienced that, and yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, I always ask myself, because after Shenzhen, so after this first volume of where you basically installed the way you tell the story with yourself in the story, and you tell about basically what happens to you. You yourself have been, you are informed now that you're doing this. So when you're doing Pyongyang, you know what you're doing. And then reality happens to you, and at the same time, you already know, like, this is going to become a book. How do you cope with that? Basically, because then there's no...
Yeah.
You have a very loose separation between your real private life and your fictional life.
Yeah.
How do you cope with that?
Well, it's
mixing?
It can sound like schizophrenic, but yeah, on Jerusalem, I was just taking everyday notes and taking care of the children and trying to learn the situation, because I had a few days free to do sketches around there. I was not really working on a book at the time, so because I knew with the children it would be very complicated. And so, to tell you the truth, while I was in Jerusalem, most of the time I was there, I said, I don't think I can make a book with that. And when I came back, I had so much information on the situation on Jerusalem, because I was talking with journalists there, because there were so many journalists that you end up knowing them from France 24 and all that. And whenever I had a question, they could answer like an encyclopedia, basically. So I had all that knowledge of the history of that. And I came back home, I said, that's going to be too complicated to explain. I mean, I don't want to do a thesis. I want to do like an everyday life book. And actually, it took me a few months when I came back home, and I said, well, I'm just going to start with the first day when I had to buy diapers for my daughter. And it was already complicated, because on Sunday it's closed because the Christian part, and then we're not supposed to buy stuff in the colony. That's a colony. So you get to learn lots of things just because you want to buy. So it was a good start. And after that, I was just reading my notes like the other ones and trying to explain a few things when it was necessary. And at the end, it actually worked like the other ones, basically. But to tell you the truth, when I came back, I said, I don't think I can do a book with that. It's just too complicated. So it's always like that. And once I was after Shenzhen, I was sent to Vietnam. And I spent 2 months there. I had my little motorcycle with me, going in the traffic.
Who sent you to Vietnam?
Animation studio, to do the same job. And after 2 months, I was taking notes, and I was thinking, well, after Shenzhen, I'm going to do a book on Vietnam. And I read my notes, and basically I just had a good time.
So, no material.
Not enough. Maybe if I would have stayed 6 or a year, I would have get deeper into the country. But apart of saying that, it was fun, not much to say. So I thought, well, it's not because I go somewhere that I'm going to have a book with that. So when I go to North Korea, I said, well, we'll see. I'm going to take notes. But North Korea, after half an hour, where I had these flowers in front of the statue of Kim Jong-il, and I had to pay my respect, I was thinking, oh, fuck, the stuff you have to do to make a living. And I said, well, I think there's going to be enough material to do a book, because that's just 20 minutes, and that's pretty surreal.
What always strikes me with these books, first is like how as a reader you discover them. Because most of your books were basically given to me by other people. They were like, you have to read this.
I'm a gift.
No, not a gift. Like, did you read this?
Oh, okay.
It's so good, you have to read it. And then someone gives you your next book, like, hey, and from all kinds of different directions, people come with your books, because I think they have something really gripping, because you're with your alter ego in the books, you travel with him. You discover through the daily life the country that you don't know yourself, but your alter ego in the book has a specific approach to things. He's, I would say, he has I don't know how to say it, a Delislean stoicism to him.
Yeah.
Like, whenever something irritating happens, he's like, all right, okay, and but we're gonna do that, and now this happens, and they come along, and you check along, and you mostly say always yes in the books to everything that happens to you.
Really?
You go along with this flow of the country that like a swimming, half drowning person. And I want to ask you, like, where's this stoicism or this calmness of your point of view? Where's this rooted?
I'm Canadian.
That's it.
That's part of it. I think it's a mix of English, phlegm, let's say, like be in face of the unexpected, you keep cool, or well, that's it goes down to that's the way I am. I mean, I'm an observer. I really like to observe, just like when you do sketches. I mean, you sit there, nobody sees you, and you just do your thing, and that's how I approach a country. Like I see small details, and I'm not good with big pictures. Sometimes I don't see the obvious, and people say, "Did you see the elephant?" Oh no, but I said that there's no problem with the electricity over there. Yeah, just like over there. And so yeah, I work with details, and with the small details, I give a big picture to the country. And that's really, I was with my brother touring in the States because he lives in the States. He's the same. I mean, it's kind of a family thing, the way we observe stuff. And oh, why is this? And then we can spend fucking half-hour thing.
And you talk about that, or do you? Does he draw as well?
The what?
Your brother.
Yeah.
You talk with him about your.
Yeah, and he's the same because I think he's older than me, so he was always saying, "Oh, why is this thing?" And then we always go, "It's probably because this is attached to this." And so yeah, I like to observe stuff like that. That's why I like the small mechanical stuff. And that is true that I don't have a naive way, but when you resume your character to a few facets, it's just the facet that works fine for the storytelling I have, so for my humor, for the stuff that I observe. I guess it's like a stand-up comedian. He's gonna be himself, but it's just a few parts of himself, because I guess on the everyday life he's not always like that funny. So that's how you do when I talk about myself or my wife. I mean, she's just one facet where she's like super serious when she's working, but that's how she is when she works. But I don't explain more facets of her because I don't need it for my narration. So that's how it works. It's a resume aspects of a person.
Yeah.
Is there somebody who you talk about about all these aspects? You show it to your wife or somebody else, and you say, here it's too much. It's not your style, or is it the reflection you only do?
No. No, it's funny because when I was at l'Association back in the days, I remember Pyongyang. Pyongyang was drawn in Ethiopia completely because that was my first mission, my wife's first mission of a year. She was sent to Addis Ababa, so I followed her thinking, well, I'm going to be on my own. We had no kids at the time. I'll have all the time to work on my comic book. And that was just after the few months I spent in North Korea. So I drew the whole book in Addis Ababa back in the days, and I came to l'Association and boom, and I don't think nobody have read the book before. I don't think I've passed it around, but now it's different. Because I was younger. I thought, I know what I'm doing. But now I have much more doubts, and I keep it around and I make it read to people when they say, when you sometimes it's not fluent, and then I say, oh yeah, I was
like with the hostage.
Yeah, I do a lot of that with this and all the other ones. But now I have much more doubts, and I want to make sure that everything just flows and that the rhythm is good.
Yeah. Just for the audience, you have to explain, because you said your wife is her first mission. What is she doing?
Yeah, she works as an administrator she used to, not anymore, for Doctors Without Borders. That's why I was, we spent 1 year in Burma, 1 year in Jerusalem. But the first one, Pyongyang, that's because I was working in animation, and Shenzhen Book China was animation as well, just for the work, being quality control for the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would always be terrified by telling autobiographical stories because you talk about the people with your family, your friends, people and they gonna read it, and also other people gonna read it. So I would be always horrified. How do you deal with that aspect of autobiographic work that you also reveal a lot about you and the people that are close to you?
Well, I find a lot of autobiography, and compared to Joe Matt, for example, I'm very, it's different. Some people talk about their sexual life or the problem they have with their parents. I would never be able to do that. I mean, it's too intimate. Even with the children, I just do mainstream stuff, and I do mainstream humor. That's all I want to do anyhow. I don't want to talk more because I asked my brother because he appears in one of the book on this one. So the few pages I sent it to him. I said, "Is that okay?" He said, "That's great. I want to read your book." He was very. He said it's an honor. So I thought, "Oh, that's cool." So, but I've sent him the page anyhow. So I don't. I wouldn't see myself doing a book and then send it. I was thinking maybe to, for example, talk about my mom. Like she died a few years ago, and I asked my sisters and my brother, we're four, is that a problem for you if I talk about mom and all that? Yeah, I want to go through that with them. I don't want to all of a sudden have I'm not ready to sacrifice my family for a book, that's for sure. And same with my wife and children. That's why I stopped, because I'm doing the children's book. When they were small, it was cute and funny, and people told me, "Oh, you'll see when they're teenager. That's a very fun part too as well." I was thinking, good, more material. But then, as a teenager, of course, there's a few funny secrets, but I don't think I want to put that in a book, because now they're more like close to adults, and it's not like when they're young, where this, it's so you have an innocence of when they're young, but when it's a teenager, I didn't find the material anyhow, so I didn't do a book with that.
When I discovered your books, like mostly, but I think most German readers, they discover you with your Chronicles books, and only last year I read the Apprentice Years. It's not the Apprentice, the English title is Factory Summers, which talks about your first experience in the work world.
Yeah, 3 summers working in the factory where my father worked.
And I was always, because I started with your Chronicles, I was like, Delisle is this world-traveling person that is like a polyglot and a world traveler in the best sense, an adventurer. He has been everywhere, and then only with this book you find out that you also started, of course, at one point in the world, and it's this very this paper factory where you start working, and where basically not so much is happening. How did this first work experience in the paper factory? Is there a relationship to the later traveling in your life, to this like going into the world? Is there a connection?
There is somehow the same way of working, because I was thinking, well, I'll do maybe a short story. I thought it would be a small book, so I list all the stuff that I remember from that period of time. So I was 16, 17, and 18, around there. And nobody goes in that factory, so my father was working there, but I've never been in that factory before. And it's still working nowadays. And then I realized that, I have more memory than I thought, because when you start to remembering things, you have another one. And then I said, maybe that's going to be a book. So the same way, I read stuff, and then I do the illustration, and then I link all that together in the book. And I work as I go with the list, like, I met this guy, then you have to present him in the book. Then, I saw my father in the factory, so I have to explain a bit about my relation with my father. So it was a bit like discovering a country, because that factory is kind of a little country on its own. There's inhabitants in there, you have people, and they have their own language, because it's so, the sound is so strong that they have sign language. And I thought of that for a long time, and now that we're not doing traveling, because we settled now, we don't travel after Jerusalem, so that's a long time ago. The kids were small, and we didn't want to travel with them and go from school to school, so we settled in Montpellier, and that was it. And I said, I can do now the book about Christophe André, because I was always postponing it, and different books. And then I said, I'm going to try about the children today around the house, and then this one came after. That's why, but I'm happy that we stopped the traveling as well, because 4 books, 5 books, I don't know. I could do all my life with that, but I think I would have had the impression to repeat stuff, because I remember on the last one I said, well, I already talk about the situation with MSF in the Burma, so I'm not going to talk again on this one. So as it goes, I would need to stay longer and longer in a country. And it's a long preparation, because I go with my wife for a year. I don't do much. I just go around and take notes. And if I come back and there's no book, I mean, that's a long process. And then after that, if it works well, I do the book and it's okay. But it's a year of preparation. It's a long time. When I did the book about Muybridge, I think I spent 2 weeks reading biography by him, and then I started the book.
Okay.
Yeah, I think also that's research in the field is
it's risky.
It's risky. It's very time intensive. But I also have the feeling it gives something to books that stands out.
That's right.
Readers notice what you have just written in a book or on Wikipedia and what you have seen.
Same with the Bad Dad Guide. I mean, it was taken from my family when I was doing it, and I cannot make. I've tried, but I cannot make them up. I have to be with the kids, and they do something, saying, "Oh, I shouldn't say that." But then after that, it would be funny if I would say that, and then I do it in the comic, and it has to be there. Otherwise, same in the country. You don't invent in Burma that, they were afraid of ghosts, so the stairs are odd numbers at the end, and then, well, for me, it's like super exotic, that kind of stuff. I really like the small details. So, and when you travel in countries,
I think we have at least 2 topics left. We have to talk about it. It's your part normally to ask our guest about the technical stuff, about the process of drawing, and I want to ask you about l'association.
Yeah.
So, where should we start?
I think the technique is rather quick. Digital or analog?
I'm old school. I haven't switched to analog except for the color. I do that with not Photoshop, but to do the color, I do a cheap studio paint. I saw that at the studio. I mean, the young people, they have that. It's cheap. You can buy it for 50 euros, and that's it. You're good to go. And for the color, it's fantastic. Yeah, but that's the only process I do. I work on paper, blue pencil for that one, and sketch. I do the text in the morning. I prepare my page more or less. I wish I could draw directly, but I cannot. So
why would that be your wish?
Well, because when you do the sketch in the morning, lots of times you draw and then you can say, I could have kept that because it's right there and it looks okay. But it's kind of something on every book. I think, I'm going to be very loose on the next book. But then to be very loose on a sketch, on one drawing, on 2, it's possible. But sometimes in a comic book, you have more constrained stuff to do, architecture, and you cannot just go loose. Well, I can't. So, I work with a blue pencil now, and then I do the ink in the afternoon and the black on top. I scan color and then I remove the blue. So I have originals. So I was asked to do an exhibition about the theme of Bastia was cinema. So they were very happy to have paper. And I really like to work all day on a piece of paper, not a screen. I mean, I spend part of my day doing emails and watching stuff. If I draw on the screen, I mean, that doesn't really interest me. It's a bit longer as a process. I'm sure that I could zoom out, zoom in, and it would work a bit faster. But I'm ready to be a bit slower and just work with paper.
Yeah, I think also there's this haptical difference of like it's just if you spend 9 hours with a piece of paper, it's somehow more joyful for me than spending 9 hours with a screen. So it's not the same.
Oh, I'm sure my eyes would be more tired because a good lighting. I have 2 lamps and a piece of paper. It's ivory color. It's not aggressive at all. I feel comfortable with that too.
Yeah. You draw with a pen or with an ink nib or?
This was very with China ink and nib, and once in a while to go faster, I have a bunch of felt tip, and when I have something thicker, then I just use that. But it can be basically whatever was on my table. Because sometimes you need a very thick line, so I have this marker a little ways, and I just use that.
It's connected to the technical design. You have a very, very reduced, I would say clean style. I mean, not with Shenzhen. Shenzhen was still very lots of graphite.
Yeah.
For this cleaner style, or reduced style, is there an important reference for you, or someone where you select where you?
It became like that. Shenzhen, I've used wax pencil actually, one white and one black. You know, it's the paper when you have a little thread and the paper goes.
Yes.
So it's actually a very interesting technique, but to do a whole comic book like that, it's a bit crazy, especially in the summer. When I had to work in the summer, I thought why did I choose that technique? And then I said,
that's great though.
It looks great because Chinese was very dirty. I was there in '97, and on the streets in the market, you would step on vegetables and all sorts of stuff, and lots of construction, so it was all dusty in the air. And I want to have that kind of smudgy. So I used that technique. It was very long, and then I said I'm not going to do that for North Korea. North Korea was super clean and not a lot of color, so I said, I'm just going to use the gray. I have a charcoal that I'm smudging, and it's actually a good technique. And then I was fixing it, and it's still very stable. More than 20 years after, I still have these pages, and the drawing has become more cartoony and more simple. My text as well, because I was trying to do long sentence in when I was younger, and now I just keep it very short and efficient. Because comic book, you cannot do literature. You have to be very efficient for what I want to say. And so now there's kind of for me in Jerusalem, it's kind of a good equilibrium between the text and the drawing. So you read at the same pace. It's kind of a funny drawing. It's funny text. So for me, it works like that.
3 years ago, you did that dungeon with Levi Strongtime, John's father, and the colors were done by Walter. What kind of collaboration is that? I know you knew Levis, you live in the same town, but...
he was, I was to his home, and someone, I think, gave up or couldn't do an album that he ever was ready to do, and I always thought, maybe I'd like to do one, so I was... there was a project of mine that didn't work as well, so I was I went to his place and I said, I can do it. He was surprised. Said, yeah, you're sure? Yeah, and then they explained me the whole situation.
But they already have the script.
Yeah, the script was written, and it was drawn by Joan, by Sfar, mostly. Drawings are very nice, very simple.
And quick.
That was interesting. But très bavard, because he's doing literature drawing, so you can tell. Because there was lots of text, so sometimes I was removing a few things here and there. But I would go and ask him if it's okay, since he lives not too far. That was easy. And then I said, I was thinking, it's good to get out of your comfort zone. That's what people say all the time. So I thought, I've been doing books, that's fine. So I'll try to do a collaboration. So Lewis explained me it's so funny, you have Lewis in front of you. He's now 60 something, just like me. And he goes, and then the monster comes, and then you're there listening to that serious conversation about ghost, monster, and creature. And then I was thinking, I have to read again a few of these because I kind of forgot. And so I was actually after the blind books, which was great because I got to see back and watch closely the blind, because it was in the same city that he was doing. And I remember regretting the second day I started to work on that. I was thinking
the second day, okay.
The first day I said, why did I get involved with that? I didn't sleep. Basically, I said, why did I say yes? And then I started to work to find my way, and then I had fun till the end. After the second page, I had fun up until the end.
What was your fear in that night?
It was and people say you have to be out of your comfort zone, and actually, this is going to be very complicated to do. I don't know, it was night, and I was thinking, why did I say yes to that? And and it's funny, the day after I started to work and I found my way, I said, oh, I'm going to try to really do something dark, which I don't do usually. So that was fun to try a new way of doing this texture that I've actually used, because in when you look after that in the Muybridge, I use a lot of black. That's something that I've never done before. And it's a bit because I've tried that on this one. It was kind of an exercise. Oh, I'll try to use a lot of black. So it was a good exercise for me.
And how long did it take?
I spent a long time with that. After a while, I said,
But they don't have deadlines because the structure of the whole dungeon is it's not really chronicle.
No, it becomes it looks like a magazine now. There's one every month, basically.
Yeah, but they do
No,
in a parallel way, I guess.
Oh, they meet in the summer. They take a 1 week holiday, and then they do as much as they can. They can have like 6-7 scenarios, or maybe more
In
than
1
that.
week.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're both of them, Lewis and Joanne. They're machine, so they can
machines.
they can, and they draw the whole thing. And sometimes Lewis go over it and fix that, and I fixed it a few things too in the scenario. But yeah, at the end, how many they have? Like 60, I think.
At least.
Of Donjon, 60,
At least
65, yeah.
They published at least in Germany. You see here is the list.
Yes.
And I guess there are 10 more in French.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
it's amazing. And that brings us to l'association, because we had this nice conversation a few days ago with Charles Barberia, and I asked you what are your influences so that we can prepare, and it's Morris and Spiegelman and Kramp. And then you said, and of course, l'association, and then Charles flocked in and said, this was really, it changed everything. And I'm not really a comic expert since 50 years. I'm into the genre like 10 years, and I still don't know exactly what it is about. What was this great impact of l'association?
Well, yeah, when you look back at the history, there's been in French evolution from children book to a kind of teenage book, all the Métal Hurlantin, À Suivre and all that, and it evolved, but there was kind of a moment where it was kind of nothing new was coming, and it was most of the books were fantasy or science fiction, and so I stopped reading comic book after a while. And then I arrived in France and I discovered Association, because that was not the stuff that it was independent, and we didn't receive that in Quebec, where I could read most of the French Franco-Belgian books.
When was that? In the 90s or?
I arrived I was in 88 in Germany, and I guess I was in 90 in France. So then I discovered the Art Association publishing house, and then I discovered John Quarterly at the same time. I said, wow, this is the set book, and I thought that's really interesting. And I was thinking, there's people of my age doing comic book for the people of my age. And we all had in common a few references, probably like Mouse and books like that. But Mouse happened, it was quite a breakthrough. That's in 70, I forgot.
8.
But he's on his own, like he does that, and there's no behind him, that's all. But in France, that's what happened at l'Association, and all of a sudden you had all these very talented people that crystallized on that publishing house, and boom, it worked. And at John in Quarterly as well, you have Seth, Chester Brown, these people, but on different sides of the Atlantics. And being part of that, I was on the second wave, because the founder were doing like Louise, they were doing very incredible stuff, and people said, I'd like to participate. So I was in that magazine working as an animator and doing a short story for them once in a while. And I thought, that's fantastic, I'll do that all my life. And then it changed, because all of a sudden graphic novel became big. And just before that, I said, well, I think I'm going to stop animation and just try to focus on animation, because I had a contract with Dargo on something more classical, and it didn't work. While the stuff that I was doing just for fun, the traveling books, became huge, because all of a sudden there was Marjane Satrapi, there was Sfar starting this, and boom, these books became very appealing for the people. I think it was just like me. People were used to read books when they were young. they didn't find exactly their way in comic books, but all of a sudden, boom, there were books for them, and oh yeah, I used to like books, and they went back to reading comic books. Yeah,
Yeah, there's really this cluster effect in a couple of years where
that's right.
where you have like this cluster of excellent people that publish at the same time and they influence each other very strongly and they know each other and
Yeah.
then you get this really this short explosion.
Yeah, it was very nice at the moment because you would publish in that magazine and you would read what the others were doing. Like, oh, I remember I was a big fan of all these people basically, but David Bay was doing, Kilo Fair was doing, all of these people. And then the second wave, because you had Blanc was there, and then, Christophe Blanc is doing great stuff. Everybody was there, and there was David Bay, L'Ascension du Hoffmann, who was published at that time. Marjan was doing Persepolis, I was doing Pyongyang. All of a sudden it became very big. And I thought, oh yeah, maybe I can just do comic books. So that's how it started for me.
Did the Satrapi movie, when that came out, because you're also an animator and you also got this books to deal with reality, did that not kind of tickle you? Like, hey, I could also adapt one of your books in animation?
Yeah, no, because she spent 7 years doing that with the promotion and the translation and all that. And actually, I met. She was with Vincent Parando, so Winchless, who helped him to do because he did a short animation film, and I saw Vincent Parando a few years ago, and he said, "You don't remember, but you told us because they were supposed to do it in China, the animation." And I told Vincent, if you go in China, this is going to happen, then the film is going to... And he said, we really thought about that, and then we decided to do it in Paris. Oh, cool.
It's rich because of your experience, because you know...
Because I give him my experience of subcontracting and what the control is going to be very... and if you have a team of people in Paris, like you open up a studio, you have the control on the whole thing. If you go in China, that's going to be hell. And apparently he said, thanks. I said, well, I don't really remember, but I'm glad I did participate. And 7 years, so yeah, for me doing comic books, it's a lot of freedom. I come from the animation, so I know exactly what kind of work it is. You take a fantastic classic comic book like Corto Maltese, and then you put it into the animation machine, unless you have a very talented director or some machine who can do that. Well, you're gonna end up with the movie. It doesn't look like Hugo Pratt's drawing. I'm sorry. And you look at it, and that does. Same for the Tintin. They did the Tintin in a series. I don't know. That's for me. It doesn't work either. Yeah. I hope they're not gonna touch too.
Yeah,
I think they've done Lucky Luke as well, but
yeah.
These are masterpieces, and I'm sorry that they just go through some very ordinary animation process. So Marjan, she's done a feature film, and that's a lot of people, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of energy, but you have a good animation that looks like the book, and that's you need all that just to, and then you work 7 years on something that you've already done in a comic book. No, thank you. I prefer to spend 7 years doing other comic books, really.
So you already know what your next comic book will be?
Well, right now, I've started something, and it's very light. Well, it's not so complicated to do for me. After a big book, I do an adaptation of a literature author that I really like. He's my favorite in France. His name is Jean Richenold. He's quite known because he won a Goncourt a long time ago, and he has published a small novel in 1993. It's 16 pages. So for me, the fun thing is to take all these 16 pages. So all the sentences are illustrated, and it becomes a comic book of 60 pages. At the end, because one sentence sometimes is spread out throughout 5 pages. So there's a few, So it's gonna be a mix of comic book and illustration.
Okay.
And it's a lot of because the whole point is to keep the writing, because his writing is very nice and beautiful. So I don't want to adapt, because it's not the story, it's the way he depicts that. So we keep the text, and I'm just adding drawings in that. So it's a lot of fun to do.
But it's something completely new for you as
Oh
well.
yeah. But I've worked with Jean Echenoz before doing illustration and sketch based on some of his books, and that's how we met. And I said I'd like to do more stuff, and I thought we can do a small adaptation of a novel. Then I think that's gonna work. Well, at least it's very fun to do. So it should be finished this year. But yeah, when I come back home, I have to finish that.
Is this something you do consciously to say like, oh, this is a complicated book, it's going to take a long time, I'm going to then, in my stack, I'm going to put something that's going to be fun and light and short, and then I do something big again?
It's natural, because I was thinking, I'd like to do another biography, and I've already chosen the guy I want to talk about, but it's just going to be one guy. It's more about it's actually be a tree biography kind of. So, but it's going to be a big book like this one. So before jumping, I have other ideas I want to do. So before jumping something big, I chose a small book.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, because this was 2 years process. So this one is I'm going to do it in this year while I'm traveling abroad. So it's much faster to do.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The only reason we start now is because we want to keep it capable, the format. So I'm sure we can talk forever, or at least another hour. Thank you so much for giving us all these insights.
You're welcome.
Or is there a final question you?
The final question would be like, because you didn't clarify that. Getting out of your comfort zone, is this something you approve of, or you think it's something that you think you should not do? Like, how was your judgment at the end?
No. It's something it was good for me, so I would advise to do that. Yeah, but there's an adjustment, and it's known that there's going to be a few hard days before you get into the thing. So it's good to know that. But no, it's interesting. I would like to try something different as well, because after that you have, my drawing has changed a bit, and no, definitely it's a good thing to change, and that's why maybe I'm doing a book about literature, because it's changing as well.
Yeah. So people get out of your comfort zone, and then accept it's gonna take a couple of days.
To adjust.
Where you will be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And make sure to subscribe our famous channel. Or we must say something at the end.
Yeah, check out the new book from Guy.
Yeah, that's the most
fresh out
important
in
thing.
German, and it's a very interesting read. I devoured it.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Okay. Thank you.